The Adidas EVO SL, and we're comparing it this time to the ASICS Novablast 5. So let me know before we start this video off in the comment section what your thoughts are on even more than shoes. Have you guys tried them on? Have you guys had some actual running experience? Let's go ahead and get straight into the video.
Hold on, everybody. Today we are going to be comparing two shoes that I believe are very popular in today's running shoe market.
No cap.
And
EVO SL's been popping.
The ASICS Novablast 5, which is kind of everyone's reliable go-to daily trainer, or at least, I guess, in the running community. And we're going to compare it to the Adidas Adizero EVO SL, which kind of came out recently. I recently reviewed it. I mean, lucky people were able to review this in October or try it out in October. So today we're going to be comparing.
So you can definitely tell, bro, did put some wear into these shoes, y'all. So this is definitely going to be a valid review.
And you might be asking, why are we comparing these two? This is kind of a tempo shoe, and this is more of a daily trainer. But the reason I'm comparing them is because I think from a consumer standpoint, I think that these are two popular options, as well as both of them are basically non-plated. And the reason I say basically is because the EVO SL has a little bit of a midfoot shank, but in my experience, I didn't really feel it too much. So I'm just gonna throw it in the non-plated trainer category. So without too much talking, let's get right into it. Starting out with the outsoles on both of these shoes. So starting out with the outsole on the Novablast 5, as we can see, it looks like a ASICS
regular
outsole.
ASICS.
I don't know how else to describe it, but it kind of has that trampoline effect that they talk about, which is more of a marketing, in my opinion. And overall, I think that with this grip pattern, as well as the rubber that they use, I believe this is ASICS hybrid grip. I think that the grip was decent. I don't think that it was great. I think that there could have been more variation in the pattern to create a little bit more friction on different surfaces. However, I did feel pretty secure on most running surfaces while I was running in the Novablast 5. So that includes light trails, mostly roads, in a little bit of wet conditions, as well as mostly dry conditions, as I live in California. So overall, the traction performance on the Novablast 5 was decent, but I wouldn't say it's...
Bro, it's getting hot out here. I don't know about him, but it's getting hot out here in Cali.
The outsole, I think that the durability is okay. I would say it's around average. It is a little bit of a softer rubber, in my opinion, that they use on the outsole. And for me, having around 60 to 70 miles on this shoe, I can already see that the rubber is starting to degrade or is starting to get a little bit thinner. I can also feel it underfoot, which I'll talk a little bit more about in the cushioning. But overall, I think that it's still average. I think since I am a bigger runner, shoes just don't last for me as long. And I am putting a lot of stress on these shoes. So I kind of give a lot of grace to outsoles when it comes to durability, as they typically don't last me 300 to 400 miles like I think a lot of people get out of their running shoes. For me, the outsole was decent performing when it comes to durability. Now comparing it to the outsole of the Adizero EVO SL, as we can see, we have a full length, pretty thin layer of Adidas Continental rubber outsole, and as you can kind of see, it is a very flat and interesting outsole pattern. Now they do have, I said full length, but it's really not full length. It's kind of like a half cutout right here in the forefoot, and then two little slits or two little cutouts in the back half. Now, from a durability perspective, I know I'm skipping the traction. From a durability perspective, I think that this is a very impressive outsole. I have about 40 to 50 miles on these now, and I think that the outsole hasn't really degraded as much as I anticipated. This just looks like a flimsy outsole in my opinion, and it is a very thin layer of Continental rubber, but I'm pleased to say that the durability has been holding up very well recently. So, with that being said, let's talk about the negative of this outsole, and that is definitely the traction. So I know, it's kind of like a hit or miss thing, and everyone has a different experience with the traction on their running shoes, but for me, the EVO SLs just did not work. Unless I was running in pristine conditions, I'm talking great weather, as well as a pretty nice flat paved road with, no rocks or no twigs or anything like that. I had decent traction in those. And if I'm describing ideal running conditions for, I guess, a road, I think that means that the traction is not very good, because once I got off of those perfect roads or in perfect weather conditions, typically I have had Continental rubber outsoles in the past, and they've performed just so much better from Adidas. So I was disappointed to report that the rubber on the outsole, or I think it's the outsole pattern just didn't perform for me on a multitude of different surfaces. Now, when I took these on light trail runs or roads with a lot of sand on them, now that I'm in Los Angeles, I just felt like I kept slipping, and I felt like I was exerting a little bit more energy into my running stride to kind of keep me on balance and to keep me from pushing off the ground, especially when I was trying to pick up the pace. I just felt like I was slipping a little bit here and there, but then again, this might be just my experience, so take that with a grain of salt. I just didn't have the best traction experience in the Adidas EVO SLs. Now, from an outsole point of view, I would have to give the winner to the ASICS Novablast 5. Now, that is kind of crazy to say, as I have really enjoyed Adidas's Continental rubber outsoles in the past, but I just think that ASICS executed their outsole a little bit better than the EVO SLs. I wouldn't say that this outsole is the best outsole I've ever ran in, but just for the sake of comparison purposes, I just had a better experience in the Novablast 5s. Now, if we're talking about durability of the outsoles, that one might be a little bit of a toss-up. I do have more miles on the Novablast 5, which is maybe why I'm seeing a little bit more wear, as well as the outsole pattern on the EVO SLs. It's kind of tough to see the degradation or just like how much it's actually worn down. But I think that the EVO SL's Continental rubber outsole is actually a little bit more durable than the Novablast 5s. So I guess if you're counting durability and traction, I would say it's a tie between the two. It's kind of up to you which one you prefer or prioritize more, whether that's durability or traction in the outsole. Now, moving on to the main event, which is cushion. So the ASICS Novablast 5 has ASICS.
That stack height is crazy. I'm already knowing ASICS is going to win the stack height and the overall cushion
setup. It's full length, and you get a nice heaping of it. 41.5 millimeters in the heel, dropping to 33.5 millimeters in the forefoot. I believe it's an 8 millimeter heel to toe drop, and it is over the legal limit. So these are going to be pretty comfy, in my opinion.
When he says over the legal limit, what does that exactly mean? Like, does that mean for marathon runs? Is that like over a certain limit? Like, what does that mean over? Or is it like a joke
have a lot of
or something?
Protection. Versus the Adidas Adizero EVO SLs, long ass name. These have a full-length Light Strike Pro, which is actually Adidas's premium super foam or racing foam, and you get a little bit less of it, 38.5 millimeters in the heel, dropping to, I believe it's 33-ish or 32. I'm going to put it up on the screen anyway, but it has a 6.5 millimeter heel to toe drop, and I was really excited for this shoe. It has a midfoot shank in the middle of your foot, but it's not full length or anything. It's not going to give you the properties of a plated shoe. So how did these foams feel? How did they perform? Which one do I prefer? Well, to play it simple, I prefer the ASICS Novablast 5's midsole. I just think that it's a little bit more consistent. I think it's more stable. It gives a little bit more, I guess, like a consistent experience underfoot when you're going on long runs, fast runs, you're doing, you know, easy runs, just a wide multitude of runs. I think that this setup is just going to be a little bit more versatile than the EVO SLs. Now, I think that the only time I would reach for the EVO SLs over the Novablast 5s is when I'm running super, super fast, as I felt like the Light Strike Pro midsole was a little bit on the unstable side, as well as I just felt like the foam was nice, but I just felt that it was a little bit unstable, and it just wasn't good enough for me to kind of use on every type of run. Now, when I am picking up the pace, that foam changes really quick from a soft plush foam into a more firm and responsive foam. So when I am running fast, I do feel like if your running form is on point, I think that the stability will be good enough. It is a neutral running shoe, so that's something to keep in mind. But I think that that's when it really shines. The Light Strike Pro kind of takes over. It's a little bit more responsive than ASICS Novablast 5 setup. And I just think that it's better for those faster suited runs. So I'm thinking, you know, 5K pace, mile pace, I would definitely rather run in the Adizero EVO SL. So that might be kind of an obvious comparison, or, you know, it might be an obvious result that I do prefer the Novablast 5's midsole a little bit more. I just think that it's a little bit more versatile. I think that you can run longer, farther in it, and you're not going to maybe get hurt as much in it. That's something that I'm speculating with my own experiences, whereas the EVO SLs is going to be a little bit more of a wild ride. It's going to be a little bit more unstable, a little bit more quote unquote fun to run in, but that does come at the cost of being a little bit unstable, especially with if you're an overpronator. I definitely wouldn't recommend this shoe. So With that being said, I think that the ASICS Novablast 5 wins for me from a midsole point of view just because it is a pretty consistent setup. It's definitely a lot more stable than the EVO SLs, and I wouldn't say it's the most comfortable foam I've ever used. I would say that the FF Blast Max kind of feels like a kind of softer maybe EVA foam. It's nothing crazy. It's not like a PIBA based foam or anything. It's not going to be super bouncy, but there is a touch of bounce with a nice kind of like firm and plush, kind of like a great combination of both of those two characteristics combined. So you're going to be taken care of in the Novablast, and I think it's going to be a very versatile setup. Whether you throw long runs at it, training runs, whatever you want, you can do it in the Novablast 5. When it comes to the faster runs, the EVO SL is definitely going to be a little bit better of an option. But if you're asking me, you know, when you're spending 140 to 150 bucks, I'm going to choose the shoe that can kind of do a little bit of everything, unless, you know, I already have a rotation and I'm just looking for a specific type of shoe, which I think maybe is when you could look at the EVO SL. So from a midsole point of view, I definitely prefer the ASICS Novablast 5. Now moving on to the uppers. So I think that the uppers is a very interesting thing to talk about. I'm going to talk about the upper and the fit. So with the Novablast 5, you're getting a pretty basic setup with the upper. It's just a kind of engineered mesh. You get a gusseted tongue and you get a pretty padded heel collar, whereas in the Adizero EVO SLs, you are also getting an engineered mesh. I would say that it's definitely a little bit thinner than Novablast 5s, as well as you don't really get a gusseted tongue, and it's a pretty thin tongue at that, as well as the heel collar definitely has a lot less cushion setup. So, or a lot less cushioning than the Novablast 5's heel collar. So with that being said, I think that the uppers themselves, when it comes to material, I think are around a tie. If anything, I would prefer the EVO SL's upper a touch
There we
more,
go. Finally
just
chose
from
with
a
the EVO
materials
SL.
and feel standpoint, because it is a thinner upper, and it just makes the shoe overall feel very, very lightweight. The Novablast 5 is extremely lightweight as well for a daily trainer and for how much midsole you're getting, but I just feel that the EVO SL has that little edge when it comes to feeling like you have nothing on your feet. I think that the mesh just does a good job, and having it super thin as well as a less padded heel collar just really makes the shoe feel super, super light. And I would say, you know, a little bit more premium than Novablast 5. But that's not to say that the Novablast 5's upper is a slouch at all. I think that it works perfectly fine for what it's meant to do. So when it comes to the fit of the shoes, that's where the Novablast 5 just pulls ahead and kind of never looks back from the EVO SLs. I think that the fit,
that's crazy.
The
I mean, you got to respect it though.
Sorry,
it's his review.
The fit, definitely the ASICS Novablast 5 wins.
That's crazy.
Because they actually are true to size. I think that the EVO SL runs a little bit wide, coming from a wide footer. So I typically wear a size 12, normal size 12, not a wide or a narrow size 12, and I got that same size in both of these shoes. The EVO SLs just feel a little bit sloppy when it comes to fit. My heel wasn't completely locked down. Midfoot and forefoot felt like they had a lot of room, whereas the Novablast 5s, once I did the heel lock on both of them, or the runner's loop on both of them, I just felt like my foot and my heel was completely secured in the ASICS Novablast 5. So for that reason, I'm going to have to give the winner to the Novablast 5 when it comes to upper and fit. Or I guess if you really wanted to kind of go deep into the details, I gave the upper maybe to the EVO SL, but the fit to the Novablast 5. And I think for me, upper and fit kind of go hand in hand. So if I'm liking the fit of the Novablast 5 a little bit more, or a lot bit more in this case, then I'm going to give the upper win to the Novablast 5. So overall, as you can kind of tell, it was a little bit of a slaughtering. I mean, the EVO SL does have some good qualities, and I do like what Adidas is doing with the aesthetics of the shoe, with the idea of the shoe, the price point of the shoe. I think they are giving consumers a lot of value for the money, especially at a price point of $150. But with that being said, I think their execution definitely could have been a little bit better, and I think that ASICS knows what they're doing with the Novablast, and I am really liking running in this shoe, whether that's long runs, easy runs, faster runs, just all types of runs. I think that the Novablast 5 is a fantastic option, especially if you're only going to buy one shoe for your running rotation. I think that this shoe is going to be able to cover a wide majority of different people and different purposes for this shoe. So for all those reasons, I'm going to have to give the overall winner to the Novablast 5. For me personally, I think I just didn't really enjoy running in the EVO SLs, like I said, unless it was for a maybe faster run, or if I just wanted to feel like a little bit wild while I was running. But when I want to stay injury-free as well as just enjoy the run and not really worry about the shoes at all, the Novablast 5 definitely wins. So let me know in the comment section now.
Damn. So another win for ASICS. That's 2 wins so far, y'all. That's crazy. I don't think I've had a video where the EVO SL has been on top. which is crazy because I heard a lot of great reviews about the EVO SL and how it's a great shoe. But I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I actually did my own review on the EVO SL, and I had a great experience. I'm not gonna lie. I did my first impressions, you guys, so I didn't go in depth and run in them, but I did give you guys my little on-foot review. I gave you guys an overall design, durability, and little things like that. So with that being said, if you do want to go ahead and see that video will be right here. But I'll see you on that one. Until the next one.